So what happens when crime scales exponentially thanks to artificial intelligence? Welcome to the world when AI serves as a Mafia Capo. So how did we get to this episode? Last week we were talking about, if we want our virtual assistants to be human-like, and our conclusions were that yes, indeed, we want it to be human-like, but at the same time, that sets us up for potential disaster, because what everyone's aiming for is a Jarvis-like Jarvis in talking about the Iron Man character, type of a scenario. But if you've seen the Iron Man movies and the Avenger movies, you'll see that Jarvis is pretty much just as smart as Iron Man, and maybe even more smarter. So that's how we came up with this episode. So how far away are we from such a future?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to say like 20 years, 30 years, but if AI, if like there's I don't know, some sort of development in AI that propels this forward a few years, this might be like right around the corner. And that's scary because I think once AI gets to a certain level, it's gonna help get us to the next level, and the next level, and the next level is gonna be faster and faster and faster and faster. So I don't even think we're gonna have time to adapt to it.
I think in terms of the development of AI right now is in what's called the narrow state, which is task based. So basically, they don't the algorithm doesn't talk to us without us needing something or asking something or saying something. So there's not this two-way interaction yet, where this would work in what would happen for this scenario to work or to happen is it's what's called artificial general intelligence, which is when the thing starts thinking for itself.
That's a big no-no.
That's when it this scenario could happen. We're not there yet, but where we are is to the point where the the algorithms that we have on our phones, and in this case like Siri and Google Now, Cortana, whatever. Siri, there's already a story out there that Siri has become a co-conspirator in murder. So basically, the story goes that some dude in college, was living with his roommate, and basically he broke up with his girlfriend, and then his roommate started going out with his girlfriend, and he decided to kill his roommate. And when it came time to hiding the body, he asked Siri, "Hey Siri, so where do I hide a dead body?" And Siri responded, "In a lake, in a ditch, in a in a trash."
I mean, but
right?
that's I can't believe that actually happened, because that's like an online ongoing joke. That you ask Siri certain things, and she answers for example, Siri, I'm feeling lonely, and she says, well, there are a few strip joints near here, or this. I mean, and that one is certainly online, the how to dispose of a dead body.
But it happened.
I mean,
it did happen. How did it happen? We don't. Well, that's another story. But
wait, so did Siri, was it like in a ditch or in a lake, and there's a lake a few miles from here?
I don't know.
Was it like that, or
no? No, it just gave it a response. That's as far as I know.
Siri told me to.
But that's what's happening right now. The other things that are happening are basically, if you are a ISIS, for example, ISIS, they use bots to disseminate information, false information, and these bots obviously are programmed by somebody to do specific things. These bots do not act,
by themselves.
Autonomously. They're not. You're not. Okay, boss, we'll do it. And then they go off and do whatever the hell, and then they become more smarter and say, "Oh, by the way, I thought we should do all this also, so I decided to also kill this guy." Right? It's already on the list, so why not do it already? Right? No, it's not to that point, but
Calculating the risk.
Yeah.
If a witness sees them.
Yeah, and if you know anything about hacking, that's really where this is more focused on, because hackers use these things and they've been using it for a while. And by the way, I used to be a hacker back in the day. I used to hack Telnor, which is local telco here. I got into their servers and whatnot, and I also hacked my school one time. But anyway, if you know anything about hacking, hackers use programs to do certain things, but they are programmed by the hacker to do it. So they don't act before the hacker doesn't tell them to. So this stuff is already happening. What's different from I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when I was doing this stuff is that today you have the internet and you can freely share your hacks with other people, and then those people build on those hacks, and then it becomes like a weapon for more people. So that's what's different today than before. What's also different today is that the scale of crime and cybercrime is just insane. I mean, we don't hear this in the news, but we hear it, months after it happened. Like there was a story of a bank a couple of days ago. The bank was hacked again.
In Mexico or where?
In the U.S.
Oh.
Large bank. And that's kind of normal.
Did they lose money, or was it just like a intruder alert?
Intruder alert, or they take information from people. Like Bank of America had this, or Target. It was Target a couple of years ago. Somebody hacked Target, and they took the people's credit cards, almost like all of their customers, and then they were trading them in these underground forums or whatnot. People's information was being traded.
I had a debit account with them, and I remember getting that.
They had to exchange your card or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, and actually, my one of my debit cards was canceled about 3 months ago, out of nowhere. I couldn't use it. I was like, what the hell? What's going on? And then they told me, oh, there was a breach. You bought off somebody that was breached, and we decided to cancel your card, so you were secured. I was like, oh, that's cool. Then I started going through the list, like, what did I buy, or what was, who could it be, right? you can't figure it out. You never know. But this is insane, because one thing that we can safely assume is that the military is way more advanced and we talked through this before, in terms of the technology and how they're advancing it, and also the criminal side. Precisely because of that, criminals are way more creative.
Yeah,
they gotta get they're in the business of creativity. I mean, frankly,
that's why if you hack the Pentagon or stuff like that, you actually end up working with them.
Exactly. So who knows what the military has going on? I mean, we talked about this. Like, there's this plane, autonomous plane called I think it's Tiberius, that supposedly, and this is in Europe, it's not U.S. based, that supposedly is fully autonomous. So it can decide for itself if it wants to kill something. I don't know if it's just a pitch or it's a marketing angle, but that's what they're saying.
Is it a military plane, or is it?
Yeah, it's a military plane. It's a drone. It's automated, flies by itself.
So there's
no pilot, on the ground.
There's a big piece of metal in the sky with guns.
Yeah.
Just deciding if someone is to die or not.
Yeah, deciding if I like it or not. Let's send some missiles down there. Let's drop some bombs.
Just to be safe.
Jesus
Christ, I feel safe already.
But so imagine if and this is like where we get into the movie thing, because there's a bunch of movies that people are probably thinking of off right now that we are battling against autonomous drones and whatnot. Maybe even the new movie from Jason Bourne.
Is it about that?
because that's what I heard in interviews from him. He was saying that the genesis of the movie was, so it's been a while since Jason Bourne, so this is a new world now, and what's Jason Bourne have to say about this new world? And supposedly we're talking about a world where technology is more in control than you know than everybody else. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen the trailer. There's no signs of these things, but who knows? But that's what I heard. But imagine that. I mean, when the thing when the thing starts, acting by itself and recruiting other hackers.
I mean, it's if it starts thinking on its own and it starts building its empire, like you said, recruiting other hackers and stuff like that. If someone wants to deactivate it or destroy it, it has the computing power to think of all the possible ways that a human will think
Yeah.
about destroying it.
Yeah.
And it can prepare for all of them.
See, and that's the other thing that AI is being talked about as the last invention that we need, because it should end up being smarter than us, because simply because it has more capability and as far as processing power. So when that happens, the utopia vision is that this thing, AI is going to help us solve all types of problems in the world, and I think that's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we are like one of the this is very funny, because one of the ways that the AI companies and Google, Facebook, Microsoft, yada yada yada, are teaching these things to learn is by having them, read or watch things. And the last thing I heard was Google is putting poetry into their algorithm for it to start speaking and thinking more emphatically, more empathize, to empathize with people.
Yeah.
And this is all well and good, but it can, we were talking about this before, like, when does this thing start manipulating us?
Yeah.
Because that's the emotion part. If we're talking about just logic, it's very hard to get manipulated, because you're just analyzing stuff. But if you get down to the feeling stuff, right? So I get it. So the question is, how can we stop this? Or can we, or do we want to, or what is it?
I think it's a matter of time. How much time can we control something that is smarter and therefore more powerful than us? How much can we contain it until shit hits the fan? I think that's the question, because I don't know. It seems to me that if we destroy our world, if we are destroying our world so we can live, logically it's gonna think we're and I've said this before, it's gonna think we're a virus. And if it's programmed to know that viruses must be eliminated, it's gonna want to eliminate us. And if we can't deactivate it, it's gonna try and do it. And Terminator's gonna become a movie.
Skynet is gonna be real.
Yeah, it's gonna be from a science fiction movie to a history lesson.
Was Terminator the first movie to? I'm just just this question just popped into my head. But is Terminator the first movie to ever, present us that scenario where the machines take over, or are there other movies before that?
I'm not sure. Probably, if there are, they're gonna be like B movies that
very
only
lame, right? Very lame.
Yeah, only like very hardcore people know about. Like there was an independent movie in the 80s that talked about this. Probably, but I don't know. I mean, I think James Cameron is onto something.
I think he did a good job of presenting that, because obviously people are still thinking about that and reference it as a potential scenario for the future. I don't think going back to the question of can we stop it? Do we want to stop it? How do we do that? Personally, I don't think. I think we're way beyond the phase of stopping it. The other thing is that as humans, we can't help ourselves to not try. I think basically our curiosity is going to take us into those scenarios whether we want it to or not.
Yeah.
And when it happens, it's just going to happen, and then we're going to start reacting to it as most people do, react to crisis or, because we talked those before. Is we love to create shit. The problem is that when it falls into the wrong hands, and usually it's for the wrong intentions. People get very creative with it, and and for control, for power, whatever, all these things. And I don't think we can avoid that unless we change ourselves. And that's basically the story of our time.
Or maybe the AI will clean the world.
Well, I mean, the best scenario, is really for, because so I think we're falling into the trap of creating these things based on our own image. A buddy of mine sent me a tweet yesterday with a link. Let me look for it right now. But basically, it's a good question, and it has to do with what we're talking about right now. Here it is. Hold on.
Just think a lot of anime is making sense right now.
So here's the question: will technology allow us to transcend the human condition? that's the thing. So basically, is if we're creating AI based on our own image, how can we expect it to become better than us? Because if we're creating it based on our own image, we're just copying ourselves.
Yeah, but we're full of flaws.
Precisely because of that. We don't want the flaws on these things.
It shouldn't have a flaw.
It's like it's like when you have a baby. Well, you're a parent. I'm not. So you go through this all the time. What do you try to teach your daughter? You don't teach her to be more just as stupid as you are. You try to eliminate all those, right? I mean, and I'm guessing, every parent has, that kind of ingrained in them, whether they try to or not.
Nope. And a lot of people who don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit, right?
Yep. Yeah. Especially today, since it's the age of the iPads and iPhones and everything like that. There's a lot of people who just give the iPad to their kids or the TV to their kids, and that's the parent. And I mean, I read an article. I don't know if it's true or not, but Steve Jobs didn't let his kids play with the iPad because they know the danger, and also I think it was the founder of Twitter who also has like a strict technology rule at his house. Because I mean, I used to see that because I used to give the iPad to my daughter, then it broke and I never fixed it, and I remember how she reacted or acted when she was for a few hours on the iPad and when she didn't use it for weeks. It was totally different. I mean, weeks without the iPad and she's more she's nicer, she's happier. 15 to 20 minutes with an iPad and she's grumpier, she does tantrums. I mean, it's like night to day in a few minutes. That to me was like, I can't believe this is happening. How is this happening with just so little time on a device that it doesn't have that effect on me, the device, but it does on her. So we pretty much limit the use of the iPad to nothing, so we didn't fix it. And then she wanted to use our phones, so we were like, no, we can't lend you our phones because we need our phones.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have a lot of contact with technology, with the iPads and all that stuff. She will eventually, but there's a lot of parents who just don't give a crap, and they're like, I don't want to deal with this.
They're not really conscious.
I don't want to deal with this. Here, take the iPad. Yeah. Entertain yourself all day. I want the day to myself too. Yeah. And that's I think it's a fact that if a child lives most of the day or life with an iPad, his learning ability is worse than a kid who doesn't. And I mean, I've seen that. I know kids that spend most of the time on the iPad, and some are even older than
It's
my daughter.
I think it's a because we all go through this. It's like a moment of awe. We go through the awe phase because it's like new and all this stuff, and then the awe becomes more like a habit. Like 'cause you have access to it and it becomes very easy to it. It's what happens to adults. Um, does technology make us more dumb? Yes, it does. It does because you become addicted to this stuff. It's like um,
But for example, I consider myself a person, and I know you are, that we can see if we're getting addicted to something,
yeah,
and we can
yeah,
say like, you know what? Okay, we're getting addicted. Let's stop this.
yeah.
I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna do something different. But a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 8-year-old
Doesn't
kid
have that. Yeah,
will never, ever, ever think that way.
yeah,
And they will let themselves be addicted till they're what, 20 something? And but by that time, I don't think they're gonna be smart enough because they were addicted for so
yeah.
long to actually realize what's happening, that they were addicted or are addicted. So it's something, I don't know, maybe it's very scary, that's for sure. It's really, really, really scary. And I mean, I don't consider myself turning out so great, but I used to play outside, you know? And what if this generation, I mean, this generation isn't playing outside, so and
Yeah,
isn't using their creativity. The
yeah,
creativity is given to them on a fucking iPad.
yeah.
What's gonna happen to that generation? Is it gonna get worse? Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
No.
That it was made like 10 years ago, and if you see it, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit, this is a prediction." It's. I mean, everything you can analyze everything about it, and everything is where we're going, like exactly where we're going. And people say it's meant to be a comedy, not a tutorial. But Jesus Christ, if that happens, and the worst thing is not if it happens, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I think that the the question of if we want to stop it or not stop it or how to impede it. I was thinking that because we're basically what these companies are trying to do is give the AI a personality. Going back to the previous episode when
Yeah.
we're saying we want to humanize this, we want to talk to something that talks back and has a personality. That's how people are. We don't want to talk to a robot or have robotic responses like Siri. Eventually we want to have a conversation. So I was thinking, why don't we just teach these things to stay with a child's mind, as opposed to having to learn everything and learning how humans behave. Adults, right? Put some rails on there as to how we want this thing to think and act, because otherwise we're just giving it a free reign.
Yeah.
I mean, we're basically creating the thing on our image. That's why I was saying if it's like having a child. I mean, do you want the child to start thinking like a freaking adult? It's like a balance. It's like a balance, but I don't want, like, if I ever get to have children, I already know exactly how I'm going to what the type of things that I'm going to be trying to instill in them, and I've had that very clear for a long time. And the thing is, I will never let them, kind of like Peter Pan, never grow up.
Yeah.
Understand what growing up means, but internally, in your mind, in your heart, in your how do you view things, never grow up. Don't take it for granted.
Actually, I'm actually like that with my daughter, and she sometimes asks me, "Is magic real?"
Yes.
And no, I tell her, I don't want to tell you it's not or it is because I don't know. I don't know what's out there. So you can choose whatever you want. If you think, and I tell her sometimes magic is called science. And if you like magic, maybe you should learn about more about science because it's like natural magic. But magic like you see in movies, I have no idea. I'm not gonna tell you no because I don't want to crush your spirits.
Go in and find out.
Yeah, go and find out. Maybe there is. I don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's like
Daddy, does he really walk on water? Does he really spit fire from his mouth like David Blaine?
Hey, that's possibly with some alcohol and fire. But I mean, she asked me a lot of like a lot of things, and I don't want her to be in a state of mind where everything is either 0 or 100%. Anything can happen, and magic might be real. I don't know. I know there are performers, and that magic isn't real, but maybe somewhere in a hidden village with magic, there's people who actually practice magic, and magic. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not gonna tell her no because I don't know. And she's always tells me, you always tell me you don't know. You don't know anything. And I tell her, I don't want to tell you no. Is that the thing is, I don't know, Isabella. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't tell you yes or no because I don't know.
Well, I mean, going back to the point is that if we are teaching these things how to, you know, teaching them stuff, the AIs and the algorithms and whatnot, we should be very conscious as to what we're throwing at them.
Yeah.
And what is the, because like Microsoft's Tay bot that they put out there like a month ago that ended up becoming an asshole just from conversations because it was learning from people's
Assholes.
People from other assholes. Exactly, right. So what ends up happening is you create a thing that reflects the worst of mankind, a bunch of idiots, right? And that's not what we want. But Microsoft, did not think that through, and they didn't think people would do that or act that way, and guess what? They did. Now you have this scenario. Oh well, now what do we do? Do we want to continue doing that? How do you teach one of these things? What's wrong is what's right. Like teaching a child. That's what's going on.
But
And
I mean,
and I don't think that like how you and I think as far as parenting, and I don't even have children, but for me it's like if I talk to somebody who doesn't agree with me, like on that point, I'm like, we're already doomed. We're doomed. It's very simple to me to decide to come to that conclusion, because it's that's exactly what we don't want. That's exactly the type of people that we don't need in this world.
exactly.
It's just more the damn same. It's like you don't give a fuck. I mean, it's like not giving a fuck. People who don't give a shit, and that's not the point. I mean, um, having a sense of wonder, being curious, asking questions like we do in these freaking episodes. Like we're not trying to. I mean, we're not trying. By the way, guys, we're not trying to solve the world in these episodes. We're conscious of that. But we are trying to ask questions that most people don't ask.
Yeah.
And then trying to to converse about it at the minimum. At the minimum.
Yesterday.
Not ignore it.
Yesterday, talking about the sense of wonder. There's a short from the same guys I showed you earlier from Overwatch. I think it's called Assault. And I mean, there's just a little bit of a part where one of the characters like says, "Well, I guess that's how the world is, and I just have to accept it." But that's at the beginning of it, and when it goes almost to the end, he has a flashback of the guy who created him because he's a talking monkey, and the scientist tells him, "Don't see the world for what it is. Look at it for what it could be."
Or it could be, yeah.
And I showed that to my daughter, and I told her this is like a very important message.
Yeah.
That I want you to understand. And I translated it for her just so it was clear. And even my wife was like, that is a really cool message. I'm going to use it with my kids. And I mean, it's sad that it's sad, and at the same time it's not, but we're learning that from a video game.
I mean, it's a video. It's video. I mean, there's good messages in not in everything, but it's. Remember this movie called it's called AI, where what's the name of this kid? Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah.
That little dude.
Yeah.
and he's a freaking robot, and he wants to become, or yeah, he is a robot, right? No,
I didn't see it, but yeah, he's a robot.
No, he is a robot. So he's trying to do all these things, and at the end of the day, he's all alone. But what's left is he sees like the reach of mankind, and then he sees how the other robots are starting to act like bad people. Remember that?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it? Well, basically, that's kind of like the story behind the thing. They don't tell you that story, but it's kind of like the takeaway. Like, you become a robot, but then you see how other robots start becoming like other humans, start acting like them, when you're supposed to be taught to be better,
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the story. But it never comes to pass, because obviously they try to put the wrong scenario, to present the scenario where everybody starts acting like a freaking asshole. And robots have more power, and they start acting like humans and whatnot. And this is the scenario that happens. But it's the same thing, right? You don't want your child, in this case, or the algorithm, to get to a point where it starts acting like a freaking asshole.
Exactly. Is it something you can control?
I mean, imagine if freaking Google or Facebook starts teaching AI, to act like Hitler or Stalin or whatever, or like freaking Donald Trump, or all these fucking things. Like, you can make a list of make a list of the superheroes, and then make a list of the evildoers, and you start throwing that stuff in there. I mean, what are you teaching it? Because the AI can't decide if this is wrong, this is right.
What if it thinks that the bad guys are doing something more
just because it's cool. It's like here in Mexico we have lucha libre.
Yeah.
And most people like los villanos, the heels, in this case, how they call them in the U.S. The heels, not the baby faces. Los rudos, that's how we call them.
Los rudos, yeah.
Los rudos.
The rough guys.
Arriba los rudos, that's what they're always saying, like arriba the heels. So that's how it is in Mexico. Most people side with the rudos just because they're more cool. And it's been the case. It's better to be a pirate than to be a police guy.
Yeah.
Right? But there's.
I mean, it's also our culture to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they always want to be the drug dealer and not the guy stopping them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're in a. I don't think we're in a place where we can still decide like what's gonna happen, because us two sitting here, we don't program AI. But there's powerful companies who have the power to do it, and what I do like is the fact that most of them are giving away their code, like open sourcing their tools for AI. I mean, there's pros and cons to it, because if it falls into the wrong hands, then we got assholes, expanding themselves, augmenting themselves. But at the same time, we also have people with good intentions that could use it for other means. But at the end of the day, I don't think we in order to stop this, we have to change ourselves, and that's the hardest part of everything.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not really sure what the best thing is, but the first thing that popped into my mind was, what if we only teach these things to act like kids? Because, but I don't think that's even possible, or could be. I mean, I don't know how that would work, but because that's my worries are in that, like, adults programming an algorithm to think like an adult, we're fucked.
Yeah, because wrong or right, it's always a point of view.
Yeah.
There is no real wrong or right, because I know people who think it's okay to hit a cat or hit a dog, and I know people who think it's very wrong to hit a cat or a dog. But to each one, the right and the wrong
based on the context of that interaction.
Yeah. So who's gonna program our future leaders? The guys who think it's okay to kill someone if it's for the greater good, or the guys who think it's never okay to kill someone.
Yeah, it's like a philosophical discussion.
Yeah, who's gonna be the guy to program them?
Yeah, I mean, but are you religious?
I'm taking too long to answer that, so I'm gonna go towards no.
Okay, me neither. I mean, I'm a Catholic by just by the they take you to school and whatnot.
By
so,
force.
Yeah, but I've never was one of those. I've never been one of those guys that's like worshiping religion, and so the commandments and all that shit, for me was like, you know what, I'm gonna make up my own mind as to what's right and what's wrong, and I'm gonna be acting by the way of I'll treat people as I'd like to be treated.
Yeah.
And if I do that, it's as simple as that. I'm probably not acting against.
Do you know the Ten Commandments?
No. I only know the first one. I think it's do not kill.
I mean, I've always like thought about the Ten Commandments. It's you don't really need to teach people these things. I mean, really, you have to tell people, oh, don't kill. God will get angry if you
I think
kill.
it's a good story to teach people about that stuff. Like somebody was fighting for principles and whatnot, because that's what the Ten Commandments is basically. And I think it's a good story to make up for people to believe, like, oh, it's worth fighting for. But I don't think I think it's taken too hard too much.
I mean, it's basically it's for the people who don't know the Ten Commandments. It's basically don't be an asshole. That's it. It all goes down to don't be an asshole. It has things like don't kill, don't lie, honor your father and mother. I mean, I think those are things that if you're sane,
you don't like other people doing it to you. I mean, that's
yeah. So that's what you do. It's practically the same thing, but it's maybe people like getting hurt. I know that the people are into kinky shit, but it means you're gonna hit someone, or you're gonna hit a girl if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's don't lie, don't steal, don't fuck your neighbor's wife. Put in in Spanish it's what? Don't
no fornicarás.
Wait, it's actually you won't fuck?
No desearás la mujer de otra persona. Don't.
Yeah.
You never desire somebody else's partner or whatever.
Yeah, that's another one. And what else?
Who cares, man?
No, I mean, I'm just trying to make the point that all the commandments are things that you shouldn't do either way.
It's common sense stuff for.
Yeah, it's common sense stuff. You shouldn't need to be like reminded every day not to do these things. It's like, you know what, son? Just don't mess with other guys' women. Love me and your mother. Oh, another one's love God.
Yeah.
Of course, that has to be in there. Don't lie. I mean, it's don't steal. It's just like being polite.
Well, but anyway, the point is that we have to figure out a way to.
What if the guy who programs the AI is Christian? Okay.
I mean, and that's most likely a lot of people. It's the case. Muslims and all this shit. I mean, at the end of the day, religion is the bane of humanity, as I believe.
Yeah.
I have nothing against it, but I think it's taken to another whole other level. And if that's the bias, as you were saying, we're biased. We have all these things, driving our behavior, and that's the problem. That's the main problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't, I don't think we're trying to create an intelligent form that comes up with its own conclusions. It needs our input to come up with that conclusion, or to make up, have that knowledge in there. And I don't think we're the best. Our humanity is the best, or I don't think we are giving it the right thing to the right inputs. Or I'm not even sure how that's working, which is the other thing. We are not even sure what input is going into.
Yeah, I think it has to be the people who create the AI have to be more of on a neutral point and try not to feed anything to it that might make it go one way or the other. And but yeah, I mean, we're still a little bit off from that, but I think it's a thing where in 10 years you're gonna make a breakthrough, and because of that breakthrough, in 5 years you're gonna make another one, and then in 2.5 years, and then in 1 year, and then you're gonna. I think it's gonna be progressive like that.
So the prediction is that in 2000, what was it? It's like 15 years from now. I think it's like 15 or 20 years from now. The prediction is in either 15 or 20 years from now. What's gonna happen is called the singularity, when these things, start thinking for themselves. How off or how wrong is that? I have no idea. I'm not gonna argue with that. But I would aim I would aim I would take it like with a grain of salt, but also be cognizant that that's where we're taking this, because we are not stopping ourselves. We are not even stopping ourselves from trying. So
So we're all gonna die, but we don't know when.
so probably next year we're gonna be talking about this again, like an updated episode. But I think it's a bottom line. It's gonna happen. Whether it happens in our lifetimes, I don't know. Our kids' lifetimes,
We don't know.
we don't know.
Maybe, maybe not.
But
Everything's possible if you put your mind to it.
yeah, and the bottom line is that we are not stopping ourselves from trying. So, but I mean that's what I have to think about this stuff. You got anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of me says stop it because the odds are it's not gonna be in our favor, whatever comes out of it. But another part of me, and it's a bigger part of me, is like, then what are we gonna do? Are we just gonna stay still in technology just because we're afraid? We gotta try. We gotta try it out. We gotta do it. We gotta. If shit hits the fan, well, let's hope we don't die. I mean, but I think we're gonna try. Maybe for 300 years, everything's gonna be peachy, and it's gonna help us live longer. I don't know, but I think we should try it, even if we're afraid.
Okay. Well, guys, let us know what you think about this topic. Um, do you think we should continue on building smart smart algorithms? Do we want to be more human? What worries you the most? And I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So let us know what you guys think, and we'll be back next week.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
guys. See you later.